This is the tomb of Karl Marx in Highgate Cemetery in North London. Karl Marx, of course, was the author of the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. And he was laid to rest here in 1883 in front of just 9 mourners, one of whom was his fellow philosopher Friedrich Engels. And the words on the tomb, "Workers of all lands unite," are the last words of the Communist Manifesto. This is the tomb of Herbert Spencer, who was a Victorian liberal philosopher, known as the single most famous European intellectual at the end of the 19th century. He coined the phrase "survival of the fittest," and he also had an affair with the writer George Eliot. So here they are, together for all eternity, Marx and Spencer. This is Hampstead Cemetery in Fortune Green, North London. And here is the grave of Francis Barrow, who was laid to rest here in 1924. He was an artist, and his most famous painting was of his little dog Nipper listening intently to a phonograph, which he called his master's voice. In 1899 he sold the painting to a gramophone company, who turned it into perhaps the most famous corporate logo in the world at the time, and even took the name His Master's Voice, HMV. Nipper, little terrier who belonged to Francis' brother Mark, was buried surrounded by magnolia trees in Kingston, where he died. But unfortunately Lloyd's Bank have built a car park over the grave, but at least there's a plaque there to remember that this is where Nipper perhaps still listens out for his master's voice. Hampstead Cemetery is renowned for its extravagant monuments, and particularly lovely is this one, the Bianchi Monument, erected in 1936 by an Italian chef, Cesare Bianchi, in memory of his beloved wife Mattie, an opera singer who died in childbirth. This is the churchyard of St John's in Hampstead, and here is the tomb of John Harrison, a Yorkshireman who solved the longitude problem, that is, knowing where you are east or west at sea, by inventing the marine chronometer. And this gave the Royal Navy a huge advantage at the end of the 18th century in their battles with France and Spain on the seas. Parliament had offered a reward to anybody who could solve the longitude problem, and when Harrison won it, he wasn't grand enough, so Parliament didn't give him the award. So he had to appeal to the King, and George III finally forced Parliament to give Harrison the money, but they didn't give it all to him, and they gave it to him only just before he died. This is the churchyard of St John's Church in Hampstead, and here is the tomb of the artist John Constable, one of England's best-loved artists. He was born in Suffolk, and most of his famous paintings, such as the Haywain or Dedham Vale, are of the Suffolk-Essex borders where he grew up. So it's a bit of a surprise to find him here in Hampstead, but he moved here with his family in 1819, attracted by the views and the fresh, healthy air which he hoped might help cure his sickly wife Maria. Unfortunately, she died in 1828 and is buried here, and John Constable himself joined her in 1837, and also their eldest son John is buried here. Amazingly, John Constable was financially never very successful in England. In fact, he sold more paintings in France than he did in England. But now we have come to love him as he deserves.